Ripley is a television adaptation of the Patricia Highsmith novel, The Talented Mr. Ripley. We see Tom in New York, which perhaps we haven't seen as much of him in previous adaptations. Then when he goes to Italy and he sees all the beauty of Italy and the art and the food and the clothes and the design and the architecture, he's such an enthusiast for all that stuff, something that he's never been exposed to in his life. And so part of the story to me is about who gets access to culture. Not everybody feels like that they can go to a museum or see how things are beautifully made or beautifully cooked or beautifully painted. A lot of people can get bored and take that really for granted, and I think we see that with Dickie and Marge, that they're just these playboys who are bored and they consider themselves artists, but they've no real appreciation in the same way that Tom does. I think the most challenging thing about Tom is how secretive he is, but he's not a reliable hero, so you don't necessarily know if he's telling the truth at any particular time. He does terrible things, but I think I have to find the soul within him, and I think there's something about him that's very vulnerable, and I love that about him because it brings out his real human side. He's not a natural born killer. He doesn't go over to Italy with the intention that that's what's going to happen, and so we see this sort of epic journey happening in all these amazing cities, and so his fallibility actually is one of the things that I think makes him lovable in some ways. The production design on this is like no other, it's like no other piece of television I've ever seen. It's really extraordinary. It's shot in black and white, beautifully by Robert Elswit. Because we shot actually towards the latter part of the pandemic, so we saw all these places that were unpopulated at the time that we were able to repopulate, but in a completely different era. You know, this is 50s and 60s fashion, so that's what I'm sort of embracing at the moment. But I like it all, you know. Costuming is one of the big things that I love as part of my job. And what's so interesting about the clothes with Tom is that we see him really change what he wears, and he adores what he wears. He's really interested. Clothes and props and a cigarette lighter and perfume, all those stuff become actually his friends because he doesn't really have anybody else. So yeah, all that stuff, particularly in this, was very important.